I wouldn't know what to do. My son get a murder charge, bro. Like, I gotta stop him from crashing out, bro. Like,
Boo's crash out has officially crossed into dangerous territory, and now the spotlight is on his son, after he was accused of trying to press Kodak Black over a diss aimed at his father, sending shockwaves through the entire hip-hop world. What started as loud online talk didn't stay on the internet for long, because things allegedly jumped into real-world movement that caught the attention of law, enforcement, and had the culture holding its breath.
I thought it was a lie. When I first saw it on Instagram, I got up, tried to call Kodak, but he must have had a new number. I called his brother, and I asked him, did Kodak do a song with 6ix9ine? He said, yeah, bro. Think so. It me up, it hurt me. He asked me did I want to talk to Kodak. I told him I ain't want to talk to Kodak, or block Kodak. Stop following him. That was a detrimental move to him, bro. 6ix9ine is the most hated person in prison. By every race, what Kodak did, he's gonna have to stand on it.
This isn't just social media noise anymore. This is the kind of situation that makes people nervous for real. Behind the flashy Instagram posts and tough captions, the picture being painted looks way darker than fans expected. Reports claim Tootie wasn't just talking reckless. He was allegedly moving around with illegal weapons, including switches, sawed-off, shotguns, machine guns, and even silencers.
Me and all about to do a song with a nigga who, like, I don't even know the niggas he told on.
Went in on
and I ain't even from over there. Niggas some shit like, nigga, that's y'all rap. I know only nigga squeeze this nigga out some cheese, homie. Yeah. I never saw do some shit like, bro, y'all ain't finna do nothing. Y'all ain't even squeeze a nigga out some money.
That type of behavior doesn't live on timelines and stories. It shows up in federal paperwork fast. Once those allegations surfaced, this situation reportedly went from rap drama to a serious legal storm almost overnight. On top of the weapons accusations, there's also talk of willful obstruction involving law enforcement, which only adds more weight to an already heavy case. So these aren't slap-and-erase charges that fade away quietly. This is the kind of heat where prosecutors don't blink, and the time being discussed could stretch into decades if everything sticks the way it's being alleged. That's life-changing pressure no matter how you slice it. What really pushed this whole situation to a boiling point is deeper than most people online realize. Sources claim there are messages floating around where Tutti allegedly said he can wait to catch a rapper and shoot him, and that alone sent alarm bells ringing everywhere. But on top of that, there are claims he's been keeping tabs on Lil Crick since 2023, allegedly trying to move closer to turning those words into action, which only escalated concern across the board. This isn't internet drama anymore, not even close.
I wouldn't know what to do. My son get a murder charge, bro. Like, I gotta stop him from crashing out, bro. Like, then it worried me more. All them lit around him clutching, man. You know, easy for something to happen, bro. Like, should be having me worried as a daddy, bro. Like,
this is the type of street-level situation that makes everyone tense, because it can end with long prison sentences, national headlines, or both at the same time. The entire hip-hop community is watching closely, knowing how fast things spiral when emotions take control and logic gets pushed aside. Social media has been on fire saying Boo's son allegedly went full crash-out mode over a Kodak Black diss record. But this is where things get tricky. Not everything being posted tells the full story. There are real timelines, real choices, and real consequences happening behind the scenes that most people never bother to dig into. According to the timeline, 2023 is when things really started heating up, but the roots of this tension go back even further. Kodak was reportedly offered $1 million to collaborate with Tekashi 6ix9ine. And like many artists chasing a serious bag, he took the deal. That one move allegedly triggered a chain reaction that's still unfolding right now.
now that you get older, you be like, bro, like, how the f you 40 years old still gotta look over your shoulder, you know, from your past. That's a f***ed up feeling. When you gotta go especially when you go in your city, you gotta look everywhere over your shoulder. Like, that shit wasn't worth it. The respect you got for anything you did ain't worth you being a older man looking over your motherfucking shoulder.
That's right.
People can debate loyalty and culture all day, but money talks loud in this industry. That collaboration reopened old wounds, sparked resentment, and allegedly helped turn frustration into threats, charges, and a young man risking his entire future over pride and impulse. And before anyone tries to brush this off as just another rap beef, this part needs to be understood loud and clear. This situation involves someone already facing serious federal gun charges while allegedly making direct threats toward well-known rappers while out on bond. That's not entertainment. That's a legal nightmare loading in real time, and everybody knows how ugly that can get when the feds are watching. This is the kind of situation that never ends quietly. It usually ends in courtrooms, long sentences, or names splashed across headlines for all the wrong reasons.
I wouldn't know what to do. My son get a murder charge, bro. Like, I gotta stop him from crashing out, bro. Like,
once the federal system locks in, there's no rewind button, no easy exit, and no last-minute cleanup. When that machine starts rolling, it rolls straight through lives. We're also talking about someone who openly cooperated with authorities to protect himself. And that label doesn't fade no matter how much time passes. When Kodak Black accepted that deal, it sent shockwaves through street rap culture instantly because lines that were once considered untouchable suddenly looked negotiable. But here's the twist. Most people ignored Tekashi 6ix9ine wasn't moving reckless. He was moving strategic, using big-name artists to reshape his image and prove that even respected rappers would cross lines if the price was high enough.
I thought it was a lie. When I first saw it on Instagram, I got up, tried to call Kodak, but he must have had a new number. I called his brother, and I asked him, did Kodak do a song with 6ix9ine? He said, yeah, bro. Think so. It fucked me up. It hurt me. He asked me, did I want to talk to Kodak? I told him I ain't want to talk to Kodak or block Kodak. Stop following him. That was a detrimental move to him, bro. 6ix9ine is the most hated person in prison. By every race, what Kodak did, he's gonna have to stand on it.
Kodak went on Drink Champs and said something that froze the entire culture in disbelief. He basically said, $1 million is $1 million. I don't even know the people he told on, and I'm not from that side. That's y'all's situation. That one statement flipped everything upside down instantly, showed that morals, street rules, and so-called principles suddenly get flexible when the number's big enough. But this wasn't just about one song or one check, and that's where people missed the bigger picture. This turned into a full-blown debate about whether street rappers can really separate business from credibility. Kodak made it clear that street politics don't apply to him when money is involved, and that mindset split the hip-hop community straight down the middle. From a pure business angle, Kodak wasn't completely wrong at all. The music industry has always put profit first and politics second. Labels don't care about street codes, they care about numbers and revenue streams. But when your entire image is built on being authentic and real, taking money tied to the most controversial figure in modern rap looks like a hard contradiction. In street culture, cooperating with authorities is seen as the ultimate violation. No debates, no resets. And that's why Boo's reaction hits so hard, because he's always been known as someone who speaks out against those violations, even when it costs him money or connections. Boo reportedly called Kodak's brother directly to confirm if the collaboration was real. Once it was confirmed, it hit him personally, and he immediately cut Kodak off completely. That wasn't internet drama, that was real disappointment. Losing respect for someone you once viewed as solid cuts deep, and Boo made it clear that move permanently changed how he saw Kodak. Boo made it crystal clear that working with someone that controversial always comes with consequences, no matter how much money is on the table. His message was simple and direct: stand on whatever decision you make and accept everything that comes with it. Culturally speaking, he wasn't wrong at all about the impact, because moves like that don't exist in a vacuum. They shake the entire ecosystem. Kodak Black's decision didn't just affect his own lane, it quietly shifted the entire industry. It gave other artists silent permission to work with Tekashi 6ix9ine, slowly weakening the long-standing anti-cooperation stance in hip-hop. And now the culture feels stuck at a crossroads, unsure which direction it's really headed. On one side, you've got the old-school street code saying there are no exceptions, no excuses, and no amount of money that makes certain lines okay to cross. On the other side, you've got modern rap culture, where profit is king and principles come second every single time. Kodak's move forced everyone to ask an uncomfortable question: are those old rules outdated? Or are artists just choosing money over meaning now? Some people respected Kodak's honesty about chasing the bag, saying at least he didn't hide behind fake morals. Others saw it as selling out everything that street rap once stood for. Either way, that single decision cracked open a debate that still hasn't been settled. The ripple effects are still being felt across the culture today. That deep divide is really what hip-hop is standing on right now, and it laid the groundwork for everything that followed next. Fast forward to 2024 and Kodak Black was moving on a completely different type of energy. Street Talk says he's been struggling heavy behind the scenes, dealing with serious personal issues that clearly started affecting his judgment and impulse control in a major way. When unresolved beef, ego, and reckless choices collide, it creates straight crash-out behavior that can tear down everything someone worked for. That is exactly the vibe people felt when Kodak suddenly dropped a diss track aimed directly at Boosie Badazz. The timing alone raised eyebrows everywhere. Dropping that record the day before Boosie had to be in court looked calculated, like he was intentionally piling stress onto an already tense situation. In the song, Kodak didn't dance around anything. He went straight for personal shots that crossed multiple lines. He claimed Boosie was bitter because he couldn't sign him back in the day, hinting at jealousy over Kodak blowing up without needing Boosie's help or cosign. That alone hit deep, but he didn't stop there. Kodak also questioned Boosie's status as an OG, calling out how he moves and indirectly attacking his leadership and credibility in the culture. In street terms, that's a serious accusation. He even painted Boosie as washed and irrelevant, claiming the only time people pay attention is when he mentions bigger names like Kodak himself or NBA Youngboy. Musically, people admitted the track sounded smooth, but the message was clearly meant to sting. This wasn't friendly competition. It was designed to hurt Boosie personally and professionally. Kodak knew exactly which buttons to press, and he chose the worst possible moment to press all of them at once. Boosie didn't let that slide for a second. He jumped straight on social media and let everything fly, posting a string of heated reactions that showed just how upset he was. His first response called out the timing, saying it was weak to drop a diss right before a court date and accusing Kodak of chasing attention at the worst moment possible. Boosie didn't stop at just responding. He went further and questioned Kodak Black's mental state outright, calling him reckless and unstable, which is about as disrespectful as it gets in hip-hop talk. In this culture, that's not a casual insult, that's a straight attack on someone's mind and judgment. And Boosie made it clear he wasn't holding anything back at all. But he wasn't done yet. He followed that up by clowning Kodak's music, saying nobody is really checking for his new songs anymore and laughing at the idea of people replaying his latest drops. That type of talk is meant to hurt where it counts most, because in rap, relevance is everything, and Boosie was trying to strip that away piece by piece. Then came the really personal shots that made people pause. Boosie went after Kodak's appearance, his relevance, and his standing in the culture, saying the only time Kodak's name trends is when he mentions Boosie or other bigger artists. That's a direct attempt to erase someone's status, and everybody watching felt just how savage that moment was. The coldest line came when Boosie compared Kodak's situation to a character waiting on bad news, referencing New Jack City. That comparison hit hard because it painted a picture of someone spiraling, sitting around waiting for consequences to catch up. And it left the entire culture stunned watching this beef spin even further out of control. You gonna be up all night smoking that chatter, wishing bad on me? That line summed up the energy perfectly. Boosie Badazz painted a brutal picture of Kodak sitting by the phone, hoping for bad news about his court situation. The message was cold and direct. He framed Kodak as obsessed, stressed, and focused on karma instead of his own lane. Then Boosie went even harder with what many people consider the ultimate street-level disrespect. He made it clear there was one thing he would never do, saying he wouldn't be checking into PC. In street language, PC means protective custody, and that statement was a direct shot at Kodak's reputation. It implied Boosie wouldn't need protection behind bars the way others might do it, which is questioning someone's toughness at the highest possible level. The hashtag said everything without needing an explanation. CCCE, short for clout-chasing crackhead, became a full-blown label overnight. Boosie didn't just insult Kodak, he branded him with an acronym purely for disrespect. That alone showed how deep the anger and disappointment really ran. This is where the situation shifts from loud internet beef into something much more serious. We have to talk about Boosie Badazz's son, Tutti. This is the same young man currently facing serious federal weapons charges that read like something straight out of a video game inventory. Allegations include possession of illegal weapons and obstruction involving law enforcement, which instantly raised red flags everywhere. These aren't state-level cases that quietly disappear. Federal weapons charges, especially involving high-level accusations, come with mandatory time that judges can't just erase, talking decades on the line. Not a slap on the wrist. The smartest move would have been laying low, trusting legal counsel, and staying far away from attention. Instead, Tutti jumped headfirst into his father's beef. That's textbook crash-out behavior. Took an already dangerous legal situation and poured gasoline on it by going public. On Instagram, he posted statements claiming he was really outside, telling people to ask around about him, and saying he would put that belt down, which everyone understood as a serious threat. He also doubled down online, saying he didn't post pictures of what he had, and adding, "We on y'all," which is a direct threat, while allegedly out on federal bond. That kind of language doesn't get brushed off or ignored by prosecutors at all. That's the type of talk that gets screenshotted, time-stamped, archived, quietly added to case files without anyone needing to say a word. Here's the part a lot of people overlook completely. Tutti has been trying to prove his street credibility for years, and it's been an uphill battle. In comment sections, people openly clown him, calling him soft, saying he grew up privileged, and claiming he never had to struggle like others. That kind of disrespect eats at someone who's desperate to be taken seriously, especially when it's public and non-stop. Things crossed into truly dangerous territory when Lil Crick entered the picture. Crick is connected to Kodak's Florida circle, and when he started laughing at Tutti's threats and reposting them, the temperature jumped instantly. What looked like jokes to one side felt like humiliation to the other. What most people didn't know at first is that this wasn't new at all. Tutti had allegedly been trying to get at Lil Crick since 2023. This wasn't a one-day reaction or a heat-of-eye moment post. Screenshots that later surfaced showed months of messages, harassment, and repeated attempts to spark problems that never went away. Lil Crick didn't take him seriously early on and ignored the messages, which only made things worse. Being ignored hit Tutti's ego even harder, pushing him deeper into frustration and desperation. Eventually, the messages escalated into direct threats, with Tutti questioning Crick's toughness and warning him not to get it confused, implying serious consequences. At that point, it became clear this wasn't just about defending his father anymore. This was about a young man searching for validation through aggression, risking everything he had left, while the entire hip-hop community watched this spiral closer to real-world consequences. Come to the A and play, and see what happens, on my soul you not making it back. That message alone made a lot of people sit up straight, because it wasn't vague at all. Another message followed right after, just as reckless, saying he wasn't even going to look for anyone. But if they pulled up, it would be handled 100%, and they wouldn't make it back. That's not internet trash talk. That's language that makes people nervous fast. He kept going, throwing insults about money and deals, saying certain rappers were signed and still broke, while he claimed he never signed anything and was richer. Whether that was true or not didn't even matter anymore because the tone was pure aggression mixed with ego. The messages weren't about competition, they were about dominance and humiliation. But the most chilling message was the last one, because it exposed his real mindset. He talked about being ready to make an example out of a rapper, saying he'd been waiting a long time to face someone and go viral from it. He said every day he feels ready to hurt anyone who tries him and dared someone to test if he was serious. That's the moment everything crossed into truly dangerous territory. That message made everything painfully clear. This wasn't just anger or emotions boiling over anymore. He wasn't talking about protecting himself or his family at all. He was talking about becoming famous through violence. And that mindset is the most dangerous one there is. Someone who sees hurting another person as a shortcut to respect, attention, and online clout is unpredictable. It's reckless and extremely risky. What he really wants is for the internet to stop seeing him as Boosie Badazz's son and start seeing him as someone to fear. That desire explains everything: the reckless language, the non-stop threats, and the refusal to slow down even when the stakes are sky high. Once screenshots exist, there's no walking that back, and he kept pushing anyway. To understand why Tutti Raw is spiraling like this, you have to understand the pressure that comes with being a celebrity-esque child in hip-hop culture. People automatically assume you're soft if you grew up with money, security, and opportunities. They don't see struggle, they see privilege, and that label sticks no matter what you do. To a lot of people online, Tutti isn't viewed as someone who earned respect the hard way. They see a kid who lived comfortably, had access most people never had, and didn't have to survive the way his father did. In their eyes, he's not a street figure. He's a suburban kid trying to play tough, and that narrative follows him everywhere. The comments reflect that non-stop. People clown him daily, calling him fake, soft, and protected by his dad's name and money. That kind of constant disrespect builds pressure over time, and someone is desperate to be taken seriously. They start doing extreme things just to flip the narrative, even if it costs them everything. What makes this situation even more complicated is that Boosie really did expose him to that environment early in life. Tutti was around street energy at a young age, watching how his father moved and handled situations. So he's not completely disconnected from that world like some celebrity kids are, and that blurs the line even more. But here's the part Tutti doesn't seem to fully grasp. Boosie paid a heavy price to build that reputation. He did real time, lost real friends, and survived real consequences. That respect wasn't gifted. It was earned through pain, loss, and sacrifice. Tutti wants the respect without understanding the cost. He wants the reputation without the years of damage behind it. And that's where things break down, because the streets don't respect shortcuts. And they definitely don't forgive mistakes made this loudly. On top of that, Boosie has always tried to protect his kids from the same life that nearly destroyed him. From his point of view, that protection is love, but from Tutti's perspective, it feels like doubt, like his father doesn't believe he's built for that world. That misunderstanding creates resentment, and that resentment pushes him harder to prove himself in the loudest, most dangerous way possible. Instead of listening to experience, he's chasing validation, and that's exactly how situations like this spiral out of control fast. Now let's talk about the cold reality, because legally this situation is already past the danger zone. He's facing serious federal weapons charges that alone could mean 10 to 20 years minimum, and that's before adding anything else. Once you stack public online threats on top of that, prosecutors suddenly have exactly what they look for when arguing someone is a danger to society. Every Instagram post, every message, every reckless statement is being saved, logged, and stacked right now. And that's the part people keep underestimating. Federal prosecutors don't scroll past that type of content. They collect it, organize it, and use it to build a narrative that someone like Tutti is exactly the kind of individual these gun laws were designed to stop. Someone allegedly using weapons, intimidation, and threats instead of de-escalation and restraint. For people who aren't familiar with federal gun laws, this part is critical to understand. Possession of sawed-off weapons and silencers isn't minor at all, not even close. Those charges come with mandatory minimum sentences, meaning judges don't get to show mercy even if they wanted to. Once an alleged machine gun charge gets added into the mix, you're no longer talking about a few years. You're talking about decades that permanently change a life. Making public threats while out on bond only pours gasoline on the fire. That's how bonds get revoked and extra charges get added fast. It takes a bad situation and turns it into a catastrophic one overnight with no warning. This entire situation involving Kodak Black, Boosie Badazz, and Tutti has grown into something much bigger than internet beef. It's now a symbol of a deeper problem in hip-hop culture. We've created an environment where young men feel pressured to prove authenticity through violence and criminal behavior instead of talent, discipline, and consistency. That mindset is dangerous, and once it spreads, it doesn't stop easily. It turns pride into pressure and ego into self-destruction. The streets are watching this unfold in real time, and it's sending the wrong message to the next generation. When celebrity kids talk about harming people for internet attention, what does that say to kids who don't have money, lawyers, or safety nets? That's the uncomfortable question nobody wants to sit with. There's nothing legendary about throwing your future away for street credibility. Tutti has access to resources most people will never touch in their lifetime. He could be building businesses, creating opportunities, and uplifting his community in real ways. Instead, he's chasing the same destructive patterns that nearly destroyed his father's life. And that irony isn't lost on anyone watching closely. At the end of the day, this isn't really about defending family honor or proving toughness like people claim online. This is about a young man with every advantage choosing the most dangerous path possible because of pressure, insecurity, and a deep need for validation. What started as a debate over principles and business decisions in hip-hop has now evolved into something far more serious. Once threats and legal consequences enter the picture, the conversation stops being entertainment and starts becoming real life. And when the federal system locks in, there's no rewinding the clock, no undo button, and no second chances. This situation is bigger than one family's drama, and that's the part people keep skipping over. It reflects a culture that keeps glorifying violence and pushing young men to prove themselves through criminal behavior instead of growth, discipline, and skill. Until that narrative changes, we'll keep watching gifted young men throw their futures away for short-term respect that never lasts. The real question everyone should be asking is heavy and unavoidable. Will Tutti Raw learn from his father's mistakes? Or will he have to experience the system firsthand to understand this lifestyle leads nowhere good? Because once threats turn into actions, there's no coming back from that, and the consequences are permanent. If he actually follows through on even one of these threats, the outcome could be devastating beyond repair. We're talking multiple life sentences, families destroyed, or someone's child never making it home alive. That's not exaggerated talk. That's the real endgame when situations like this cross from words into action. Boosie Badazz already lived through the darkest chapters of that life, paid the full price, and somehow survived long enough to try and build something better on the other side. That's the part people keep overlooking. Now his son appears to be walking down that same road, but faster, louder, and with way less room for mistakes. All while already staring down serious federal charges. That's not toughness or standing on business. That's reckless decision-making with consequences that don't expire. The streets don't reward that energy in the long run. They bury it, and history has proven that over and over again. So, where does accountability really land here? Should Boosie step in harder and shut this down completely before it gets irreversible? Or is Tutti old enough to face the full weight of his own choices? That's a brutal question, because protection can feel like doubt, and freedom can feel like abandonment when emotions are already boiling over. But the bigger question matters even more than the family drama. What does this say about how young men are raised and validated in hip-hop culture today? When violence becomes a shortcut to attention, respect, and online relevance, something is broken at the foundation, and nobody wants to admit it. At the end of the day, this isn't about proving who's real or who's tough anymore. It's about survival, growth, and breaking cycles before they repeat themselves again in the worst possible way. One impulsive move can erase everything: freedom, family, future, and legacy, all at once. And if history keeps repeating itself, then the real ending isn't viral fame or street respect. The real ending is courtrooms, prison cells, and regret that comes way too late when there's no rewind button left to press.